Coach, you've been with this group of seniors for a really long time. Just, you know, I know you don't want to think too much about senior night because it is a big game tomorrow night, but just how much has this group especially meant to you?
Everything. They've been tremendous. Publicly, they've been tremendous. Privately, they've been even better. Relationships that'll last forever, not just with them, but with all parties involved, the players, the coaches, their parents. All of them will be here, not Andy's. Andy's parents have never seen him play. So we are Andy's family. And just very, very thankful, very honored, very humbled by the results of the group, but also just the lifelong relationships. Ball will eventually end at some point over the next few weeks, but the relationships I anticipate will be lifelong, regardless of wherever we are. And in the end, I think that's probably what the core of this should be.
Wade's getting really close to breaking the scoring record.
Where's he at?
Is it 25 away?
24 to tie, 25 to take the lead.
You know, just,
Really?
Yeah. Just as he approaches that milestone, just, you know, we've talked about him a lot, but as he gets really close now, just what does that mean to you and just how you've seen him become a complete basketball player, not just a scorer?
Well, obviously, I've had 2 tenures here, so I want to be careful in words that I say, and also want to be respectful of those that coached and played here when I wasn't here. But when I have looked at that stuff earlier in the year, there's a lot of really good players. But I personally think what Four's done here in his 4-year tenure, whether you talk about the wins of the program, his accelerated path and what he's meant to each of the teams that he's played on. I know it's not the only record he'll break, but it's maybe one of the most known. I think he's the best player that's ever played here when you add in all of those ingredients. And I know that there's been many other great players. And so I don't think anybody would have thought that upon arrival. Nobody for sure thought that when we were recruiting him. And I think back-to-back first-time all-league players going into his senior year, all of the things that he's accomplished, I personally believe he's deserving of them. I think who he is as a person, the student he's been, the leader he has become, he hasn't shied away from any of it. And I just have great respect for him. But I have just as much respect and admiration for his parents. Those guys that have been here as long as they have, that Donna mentioned, they've had opportunities to go elsewhere in this new model, and their loyalty to one another and to the institution, I think, is rare. And so hopefully he breaks it tomorrow night at home. That'd be cool.
Hey, Buzz, during this slump, have you ever, at any point as a coach, got a sense that guys are questioning themselves or starting to lose any confidence at all? Or do you feel like how are they handling this, do you think, mentally?
I've never seen a response be any better. They've been tremendous. I think each game is a standalone game. And I think that there are lessons to be learned, whether you win or whether you lose. And I think our guys have been responsive to all of those things. Sometimes you have to be careful that you don't use the word slump. I understand your question, but you want to make sure that there's the right truth and you don't just lump it all together, but that the truth correlates. And I think our staff and our team has been great at extracting what the right truth is for each of those games. I really respect how they've handled it. We were great yesterday and 2 days before. I anticipate we'll be great here. Our guys know who we're playing. In the annals of Texas A&M history, it's only happened 9 times ever. That's a long time for it to only have happened 9 times. And so they're excited for what's at stake as we enter the last week of the season.
Are there common denominators with the losses? Buzz?
No. There's some that go 1 and 2 games, none that go the 4 games. And like I said, the things that correlate, we make sure we give evidence to that. We show pictures of that. The things that don't correlate from game to game, we also try to teach from those things as well. And again, like I mentioned to Olin, their maturity is a big part of it. Their competitive maturity allows them to receive it. And I think our staff, because of our continuity and the foundation that we've tried to build here, I think they understand those things. But when they can see the numbers and they can see the pictures, I think that always helps. And like any other team this time of the year, you don't want to be stale and you don't want to be dull, and you want to find a way to see if you can get a little better. And that's what I hope that we do this week.
I realize in March, early March, you can't say the greatest or the best or all of
Yeah.
that, but where does Auburn stack up in terms of some of the better teams that you had to prepare for the last few years?
Well, it's the 9th time in Texas A&M history they've played the number 1 team in 113 years. I've been a head coach 18 years, and this is the 4th time I've played a number 1 team. Statistically speaking, based on my tenure here, I would say that they're the best since we've been here. It's the best the league has ever been, and they're the best team in the best league. They lost to Florida, as you know. They lost at Duke. Their talent speaks for itself. They have the Naismith Player of the Year on their team. Their roster is tremendous. They can play almost any style. And I think throughout the course of the season, that's become pretty evident. Are you trying to speed them up? Are you trying to slow them down? Are they trying to speed you up? Are they trying to slow you down? Whether it's in the half court or the full court, unique style of play and what they do in special situations that Coach Pearl has been known for throughout his career. It's hard for me, to be honest, Chip, to kind of rewind in my brain every team we've played. I guess the 4th number 1 team I have played in my career was Auburn, at Auburn. I think we beat them when they were number 2.
We beat Alabama when they were number 2.
We beat Alabama when they were number 2. We lost to Auburn. I think we're 5-2 against Auburn since we've been here. And one of those 2 losses was when they were number 1. And it was college game day, just like it was at Florida. But it was a morning game. It was an 11:30 game at Auburn. And that's when we, after that game, we changed nearly everything we have done offensively since that moment in time. But that team obviously was really good. I would say categorically this team is probably the best.
So what you just talked about, without giving away your game plan, being that Auburn is able to play a bunch of different styles, I guess how do you prepare for that without taking away from what y'all want to do specifically and what's best for your team?
Yeah, delicate balance for sure. What do our guys need to know while also making sure we're executing what we know we need to do? And we diagnosed some of that, Donna, a little bit traveling back home Saturday night, Sunday morning, and then spent a lot of time of that as a staff before we got with our guys yesterday. We have a routine on what we're going to present to our guys 2 days before. And then 1 day before, today obviously is an expansion of that. But it also, and our kids know this, it's also another 24 hours for us to study the details that we want to give them, some of which we need to be aware of, but not everything do we want our guys to be aware of. Some of those details come out during the game relative to adjustments. I think we've been giving our guys the right dose of what they need to know about the opponent, while at the same time most of that translating into what we know we need to do. But it is a thin line always, but it's for sure a thin line when you're playing against the best team in the country.
Was with the 3-point defense, do you think it's significant tweaks that need to be made, or is it just one or two things that are going wrong that's pretty simple to fix?
Yeah, it would be the last two games, 2 games at home, and then the last game we played against Florida. I don't think it applies to the Mississippi State game. Too many live ball turnovers and block shots. The adjustments we made in the second half versus Tennessee to slow down number 2, completely different adjustments than what we did against Florida. Again, I don't think that they're the exact same because it was a different way they were getting those threes. But I think 23s in the first half against Florida, 13 in the second half. So they shot 33. They were averaging 27. Statistically speaking, in the 4 years that we've played this defense, teams are going to shoot 8 more threes than what they average. That's the way we teach it to our guys. So we were kind of on point with that. The threes that hurt us the most in the second half against Florida were off a defensive rebound. It was the worst we had defensive rebounded since Alabama. So there are some things from those 3 games. They're not the exact same things. But as I mentioned, I think we've tried to do a good job making sure our guys understand that.
When you have so much at stake with a number 1 team in the country coming to town and a 4-game losing streak you're trying to break, how much do you want the guys paying attention to senior night and scoring record, and how much is it like, hey, let's focus on this and then maybe we celebrate that stuff after? How do you kind of balance that a little bit?
We kind of do the same thing every place I've been, including here. We take everybody to dinner the night prior to the game. We spend the night in a hotel, not because anything's wrong, just another opportunity for fellowship. We do all of our film work from the hotel, whether we're at home or in this scenario on senior night. I think it's appropriate to honor our guys. I know it's kind of disconcerting at times. You have to make a decision. Do you want to do it post-game? Do you want to do it pre-game? You can argue either way. We do it pre-game just because I think when you look at I guess there will be the largest group of seniors that have ever represented Texas A&M tomorrow night. And so I want to be respectful to all of those relationships, regardless of what has happened the last 2 weeks or who we're playing. I don't think that that's loyal or right to the relationships. And so we'll do it beforehand. But to the importance of the game, I think our guys are aware of that, whether it's senior day or not. And personally, if you guys keep saying this, obviously that's what you guys are hearing. I don't think that the scoring record, nobody asked me about Henry Coleman setting the record for offensive rebounds, so maybe offensive rebounds is not an important thing, but I don't think that has influenced anything relative to decisions or who we're playing or where we're playing or what they're ranked. I do think our guys know we've been ranked every week of the season. I think they know that that's happened one time in the history of Texas A&M. But the scoring record or senior night, we just try to tell them the truth, make sure the truth is accurate. But I don't think that that's done anything within our group.
Manny's kind of had a tough stretch these last few games. Just what have your conversations been with him these last couple weeks and just trying to get him going again, knowing what he's capable of?
Yeah, he's probably been the most positive of every player. And he's very self-aware. Last March, he was one of the better players in the country. He wants to do great. He realizes he hasn't. But to his credit, I mean, he says it in front of the entire group. And I still think something good is going to come from that. Just to be transparent, we all need to be better. Not Mo, not not Henry. we all need to be better. And I think that we're aware of the stakes at which we're playing. I think they're aware of who we're playing and the lessons that are coming from each of these games. But I think they were aware of that when we were playing Purdue or Texas Tech or when we won 5 in a row. I think you have to be careful to not ride the wave of emotions of, hey, what happened the last 2 weeks? Because everybody's DMs are a little different than they were the previous 3 weeks when we had won 5 in a row. The good thing is there's experience of a lot of good things with this group, and we have experience of a lot of adversity. And we have experience of how we're going to respond to good things and experience of how we'll respond to adversity. And right or wrong, I believe in these guys.
About this time last year, it was, when Manny really started taking off, and he was such a threat offensively. And he struggled. Anything you can point your finger at and say, okay, this is what's going on, or does some guys just go up and down and maybe just in one of those periods now? You know, how do you look at it? What's going on with Manny?
Specific to Manny, I like I just mentioned, I thought he played as well as any guard in the country in the month of March. I thought it started a little bit here last year versus South Carolina. I think everybody would agree with that. The next game when we played Georgia, over the next 5 games, counting Georgia, that was as good as any player had played last year. Is there one thing? I don't think it's one thing. I don't think it's one thing that leads to winning or to losing, and I for sure don't think that it's only Manny on why we've been losing the last 4 games. But we do need Manny and everybody else to be a little better, and that includes me.
It's just that because we saw it last year, what a difference it made in y'all's team. The way, I mean, he was scoring at least 10.
It was like video game numbers. I think he shot 55% from 3 in the month of March. He was our leading scorer by far. It relieved a lot of pressure off foreign boots. You guys know our last year, our forward, our 5-man scored 6 total baskets. And so for us to have another scoring threat, obviously, not exclusive to Mo, but in that stretch, he was tremendous.
For what you know about Wade, I know you know him as good as probably anybody, better. How much do you think he even thinks about setting that record, or do you think it'd mean a lot to him, A, to set it, but B, to set it here?
I would say, I don't know the numbers. I do think that he cares probably as much as any good player I've been around. And I would say that he's playing less minutes, shooting less shots, with a higher assist turnover ratio than he's ever had, because he realizes the abilities of our team. He's the most unselfish, talented player with the ball that I've ever seen. I think the invisible burden, Olin, that he carries, and several of our other guys who don't score as much, is he just wants to do good. And when you look at what has transpired during his career, a lot of individual accolades he's deserving of. But I think, again, that's why I say what I say about his mom and dad. He really cares about the program doing well. And he takes a lot of pride in an humble way of the change of trajectory the program has had since he's been here. Do I think he's aware of every record? No. Do I think he's aware of how many 24 points away? Probably. He thinks like a coach. He consumes information at a fast rate. So I would say he's aware of it. He was the first guy that was mad at me that we didn't honor Henry on Thursday about the offensive rebounding record. And the second guy was Andy, who led the league in rebounding last year. And I was like, my fault. I was kind of consumed with the loss last night. I apologize. We'll find a way to honor Henry in the right way. So I think it's just the care. I don't think that it's anything but unselfishness.
You see him being a coach someday?
Yeah, I've already offered him a job. I've actually offered 3 guys on our staff a job prior to this week. I think 4 thinks he's going to play a long time and wants to play a long time. And so I've tried to explain to him, I may not be coaching when you're done playing. So my offer is going to expire before your playing career expires. I did the same thing with Eli Lawrence last year. I thought he had a really special way about him. I was an assistant coach when I did it with Brian Davis and Joe Fultz. Obviously, I became a head coach by the time I coached Joe. So I kept my word on those 2 guys. I did it with 5, and 5 still playing. So we'll see if the other 2 take me up on their offer. I'll have to visit with the administration if that does, because we'll have to create some spots. But I think 4 is going to play for a while. But I think he may be the next head coach at Texas A&M. He's a special person, but he has a fast twitch brain when it comes to ball.
Just one more on him. You mentioned the family, and he comes from a basketball family.
Yeah.
How much do you know about what his sister did? You know, with
I know
his game?
I know everything you could possibly think of. And the record she set at Southwest Texas, the job that she currently holds, what she has done prior to the Sun Belt offering her a job, the post-secondary degree she got because of COVID. She is a stud. Know everything about his dad, where his dad played, when his dad played. You guys are too young to know, except for Olin and Chip, but his high school coach is beyond legendary in Dallas County. And 4 was the first player we went to see when we were allowed out after I was hired. And his high school coach had known me since before I graduated college. And then his AAU coach, who tragically passed away while 4 has been here, is beyond a legend in Dallas County. And just to tell you more, we played for our 21st win against Vanderbilt. We have 2 players on our team that are 21. 4 is one of them. Solo is one of them. And so I gave them an opportunity to tell our program who we were going to play for. And obviously Solo's story is for another time, but 4's dad, I've always referred to him as Mr. Taylor. He's been a social worker and changed thousands of lives in Dallas. And his relationships in the state of Texas, but specifically Dallas County, are far-reaching. And a lot of choices on where 4 could have went to college, a lot of choices on who 4 could have played with in the summer and even in high school, just to be honest. And the loyalty that Mr. Taylor and Miss Taylor have had to us has been phenomenal. And it's the same with 4. And I knew 4's AAU coach and high school coach. Obviously, Coach Jazzy's no longer with us, but I knew those guys before 4 was born. And so there's a lot of deep roots. He's extremely close to Devin. Devin recruited him. This was during COVID. He never even took an official visit because he couldn't. A lot of really good stuff that'll be in 4's book. I'm just thankful to be a part of it.